Oh, gee.
Well, hello, everybody. We are back again. It is Monday. It is February 1st. I hope everybody was able to make their rent. These are rough times. What do you think? Lynn, what do you think about the times we're living in? I'm here with Lynn of Lynn Tarot Readings. Welcome, Lynn. Hi.
Hi, Whimsy. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. What do I think about the times we're in?
These are crazy times.
I don't know. You're talking to a child that grew up right after the Depression, and I heard so much about it that I kind of expected it to be worse by now when we first started heading into this. So far, I think we got our shoulders above water instead of just our nose. So I think we're doing a little better than I thought we were going to be doing. To be perfectly honest, when all this stuff first came out.
Well, I think it depends on who you are. A lot of people are in really bad shape. They're in the food lines. I think something like 1 in 5 children is going to bed hungry. It's
That's horrible.
probably worse now. Very high numbers in some of the poorest of the poor states in terms of hungry children. They're simply not getting enough food to eat. So a lot of people, it is that bad now. And then, with the death rate being what it is, also in the United States, it's inexcusable that a nation this rich should have the mortality rate we have, almost 20% in the nursing homes.
I agree with you totally, and I wasn't trying to put that down, but when this first started, I was envisioning the soup lines that I grew up hearing about and seeing in the old movies. I was envisioning us literally being standing out in the street waiting in line for one meal. And so, yeah, I wasn't putting this down. I,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be several times worse. I'm not saying it's good. I know, I realize it's really horrible.
Well, I think it depends on where you go. I mean, in California, in Los Angeles, the homeless are being told they want to keep them in a controlled area. So if they don't want to see homeless people in Beverly Hills, the people of Beverly Hills are complaining. We don't want to see reality. LA is la la land. We don't want to see what's happening in the real world. So they gather up all the poor and they send them down to Skid Row. And so if you're, that's where the soup kitchens are, that's where the soup lines are, that's where the emergency food relief is. But what has started to happen with these homeless, with the homeless in LA, is that it's almost like a pit that's getting wider and wider, and more people are slipping into it. So now you're seeing that those same people being pushed in, get out. We don't want to see you in West Hollywood. We don't send them downtown, where they're often accosted, beaten up by thugs who don't want them downtown. The other problem about LA is that different companies will hire gangs to just randomly beat up and terrorize homeless people so they can't sleep downtown either. So what happens is there is this, we almost are living in the dark. We hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. We think, well, it's not happening to me. It's not happening to me, as more and more people are falling into the hole. So if you're somebody who was technically almost on the poverty line, if poverty line is 14, 15,000 a year, and you're making $15,001, technically, this is what AOC was talking about. Well, you're not on the poverty line. You don't make $14,999. You make $15,001. So therefore, you're middle class. So this is the absurdity of
Yes.
where we find ourselves. But it reminds me of how we're dealing with, war now versus war. When Vietnam was going on, they let us film and show everything. Everybody saw everything, but now it's embedded. It's cleaned up. People can't see the dead body. We don't know what we're doing in Yemen. We can't see the genocide in Yemen or how we've participated. It's all scrub, 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 clean, clean. And I think that that's what's happening now with this economic disaster. We take care of our business. We keep our homes organized. We pay our bills. We hunker down. A lot of people, particularly in my group here that watch the channel, we've talked about it for months and months and months and months and months. But for many people, they're sleeping in their cars. The foreclosures are through the roof, particularly in California. If you Google foreclosures in Zillow for California, it's just a sea of red dots. because so many people died. So many people died, or they wound up in hospital, or they're still in the ICU, or they've lost their job. So what happens if you're a senior and you're sick and you still have a mortgage and your kids lost their jobs? They can't take on this estate. So you have all these estates now that are going under. So you and I are just lucky, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, I feel like I'm lucky because I'm older and I'm on Social Security. But if I wasn't, I would have no, you know, whatever. Sometimes the way things were looking there for a while, I wasn't sure how much longer we'd have that safety net. But hopefully it'll be there.
So I thought today we would have a little fun. That's kind of a depressing subject we were on. But yeah, I mean, we don't see the poverty in like remote areas. I know that Biden is talking about trying to get food stamps out. So that would probably be more convenient rather than waiting in a long line, which is happening in those certain areas. If you can just give somebody the equivalent of a debit card to buy food, that's what they're talking about now.
Now, I know that you could probably answer this for me. I heard, that they were going to reopen SNAP. Is SNAP like food stamps?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was for young mothers with family and that and they could just go into one place and buy groceries. But this would be like literally food stamps that went out to everybody.
Yeah, they can give you like what are called EBT cards. They're like debit cards, and then the government fills it with a couple $100 every month. And the only thing that you can buy is stuff that's technically labeled grocery. So that's also a problem because if you're a poor woman and you can't buy tampons or certain things you have to have, and everybody's for decades, we were too embarrassed to say, hey, the homeless women, they need sanitary napkins. Can we make this happen? Now, finally, this is how sexist the planet, America is, and so unfortunately still is, that you have to explain that what homeless women need is a little different than what homeless men need. And
Yeah, well, it's just like when I was a child, my mom always said, if you give somebody a gift of money, you don't tell them that they can't go buy alcohol with it because it was a gift. So they can go buy what they choose, because I knew so many people that says, well, if I give this to you, you got to promise not to spend it on this or not to spend it on that. And I always thought, well, are you really giving it to them? It just doesn't, to me, make sense. And I think that's kind of why they were giving out the food stamps when they first started the program. And the biggest gripe and from some people in the government was that they wanted to limit what they spent it on.
yeah. Well, I thought we would do a couple of blitzes today, and I know that people are concerned about the economy. So did you want to just start by taking a look at the economy this year, a general picture for the United States? We could do the impasse prayer and then just start with that. And I think we can go in and look at other countries as well. And then people also asked if you could tell the ghost story you didn't get a chance to tell last time. So I think maybe we'll do the economic stuff because people were curious about it. And then after we do that, we can spend a little time because you have a really interesting ghost story, I guess, people wanted to hear.
Well, I don't know if it's interesting. At the time, it seemed funny, after it scared me to death.
I love it. Okay, let's do the impasse prayer. And then you want to check the economy?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, let's do it. Okay, I want to call on white light protection for myself and Lynn as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower both Lynn and myself to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, for the community, for the planet, to help those we have strife with. And together we say, Amen. Let's go.
Amen.
The future.
Thank you, Whimsy.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. The future economic situation in the United States. Wow.
Oh, this is quite a mixture here.
Awesome. You want to go first?
I guess so. I can. For the signifier, I've got the strength card. So that was very good. That made me feel good when I turned that up. And I thought, we'll see where that goes. And I don't know. I thought, well, are we maybe a little stronger than we realize? Or is it just like anybody? If you spend the money in that direction, it's going to make us stronger. I had the magician over it, which is great. So there, whoever's taking care of this is taking good care of it. This is what I feel. Whoever's trying to figure out where our economy goes, which direction it goes in, they're taking. They've got some good people in there taking care of it. It still doesn't stop a lot of other people that are in charge. This is the foundation, the third house, for somebody. For them really still worrying about it. It's not like they just think they've got this settled, because they know better than that. We got Biden, the influence over it. It's funny how that King of Cups just comes up there almost every time I read if it's anything to do with our country. Now,
what a great president he is.
The holdup in the sky over here, we've got the what I call the thief card, but there's other things for it, is there's just so much stuff that's been moved around, taken, stolen, or moved or something, that it's just going to take them a while to get in there and figure out what's really the best thing to do with our economy. One thing that's going to help our economy is being honest and across and above the board with the people, is letting us know what's going on instead of letting us go to bed every night wondering what's going to go on. So that's going to help people relax, and some of the people that do still have money not be so afraid to let go of it. They're not going to. It's not like they're going to go. You know what I mean? If they think a good investment is a good investment, they're still going to invest. It takes away some of the fear because of the information coming out. And we got the gift from God here. I think no matter what we hear on the news, that a big majority, maybe 2/3 of the United States and the country, feel like we are on the right direction. And some of the circumstances of the last 3 or 4 months in some way has been a gift from God that's going to help us. I don't want to say get back to where we were. I hope we go further than that. What's around this is we have to think outside the box. We can't just keep going back to where we were and going in circles. We have to set up new ways to do stuff to get out of this hole, because we just have to approach this in a totally different direction. And I don't know, and I assume this is probably clean energy, but that's what I would guess if I had to say what it is. But just like put all the old stuff away, come out with new stuff. I know they always said nothing to fear but fear itself. But in my fear, and I have to say fear, even if it would sometimes be hopes and fears, in the 9th house, I have the 10 of Swords. So I feel like it is going to get worse before it gets better. But look at this here. For the outcome, we have the 7. So we have more ingenuity.
Oh, that's good. That's my green capitalism card.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good card.
Yeah. So it's going to come through. It's going to come through. And it's just going to take it a while. We can't get in a hurry. And like I say, we have to not start calling people names if we don't just climb out of this in 2 months. That's the only thing wrong with in the United States here, is people that are living now, they're just used to instant gratification for some reason. They just think if somebody does something, you're just supposed to see it right then, and they don't. I feel like,
yeah,
well, it's immaturity on their part, but but we can manifest things, but it's normally not, whatever, immediately, and they need to learn that.
You know what, when you said that, it kind of reminded me of Gavin Newsom, who's the new governor of California, that he walked into, I mean, like Trump has done everything in his power to go to war with the state of California, which is disaster. This is how irrational the Republicans are. Why would you go to war with 1/5 of the world's economy and all of those wonderful federal taxes that we collect, which end up going to fund poor states? It's not even, their hatred of Californians isn't even rational. But the fact that they blamed everything on Gavin Newsom, well, the fires, the guy's been in for how long? He was in for almost no time, years and years and years of problems with the environment because of the gas and the oil industry in California, which came in the 1950s. And it's like, you're going to blame Newsom for that? Because again, it's this idea, well, he should have fixed it. You know how long we've been having problems with destroying the environment because of the oil industry and everything? So there is that idea that it should be fixed, and it should be fixed now. The cards I got for the future, I think it has to do with the fact that this is what competent government looks like. A lot of cards coming in for the future economy have to do with new partnerships. Two of Cups coming in as the karma card. So what I like about this is how neutral it is. This is going to existing companies, and we've got to switch them over to a green economy. Like, because we signed the Paris Accord, everything has to be switched over by 2030. We only have 9 years to be off gas. We only have 9 years to be off meat. Everybody's getting off meat, and now we can. People are freaking out that you can grow a filet mignon in a test tube. I don't think who cares? Would it bother you to eat a steak? I mean, if it looked the same and tasted the same.
Yeah, I care as long as it might be better for the body in the long run.
Well, it's the same cells. There is no difference.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like twins. There is no,
okay.
It's the idea of it that freaks people out. But it is happening. It's going full steam ahead. And I think one of the companies that's putting out chicken, the chicken is still alive, by the way. You know about this, right? You know what?
No.
You know what they did? It was a group of like environmentalists out of San Francisco that was young scientists, entrepreneurs. They took a baby chicken, and the umbilicus of the chicken. When you crack an egg and you see that little white thing, that's the umbilicus of the egg and the yolk. They're feeding the nutrition of the yolk. But anyway,
yeah.
So what they did is they extracted some of those stem cells, and then they use a fermentation process to grow those cells, and it's basically chicken breast. And so they've got these beautiful, perfect, every chicken breast is identical. But they were making a barbecue, and the chicken was on the lawn. Chicken like clucking.
Yeah.
While they were having
all that meat had come from that chicken.
Well, the cells.
Well, cell line. Yeah.
So
what it uses to feed inside the egg.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know what what the nutritional slurry is that they put these cells in, and then the cells just grow like fermenting beer. And then I guess the whole process is sealed, it's clean. It requires 95% less use of the Earth's resources. It's absolutely crazy.
That is, it's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, so when I looked at the future Earth and the future economy of the Earth, the karma card was new relationships, and then Six of Wands. New relationship would result in success. This is also a Six of Wands card, being a month. I read wands as months. So in about 6 months, we see a total turnaround. What I like is that isolationism doesn't work, whether it's Britain saying we're going to be an island and we don't need anybody, but it's simply not reality. You can see here the first house was an attempt to communicate with the rest of the world and changing our dynamics with the rest of the world. what the nation sits in, and I assume this is under the Biden administration, new beginnings. There is still a problem with communicating with certain people because the bottom line is they were seditionists. You know, there is, I think this is similar to what you picked up, that there's
Yeah.
still this aspect in the Biden camp, attempts to heal the situation, and then the final outcome is negotiation. I think what I see is the energy moving really, it's a real fluid energy. There is some blocks, but I don't see it, I don't see it continuing. I think in 4 to 6 months, some of these contracts are going to be up and running as soon as 4 to 6 months with these types of cards.
I do too, because I pulled on this before, and I thought, what anyway, before I ever pulled on it the first time, I thought it was going to take so long, and every time I pull on it, it looks like, gosh, this thing is just coming right back, and
Yeah,
it surprised
I
me.
agree with you. I agree. You know why? I think what is going to happen, and I think what comes out 4 to 6 months, is I think that Biden is going to enact the War Act because we're in an existential crisis with the environment and also with the virus. And once he opens up the War Act, all that money is going to go into those existing companies that are going belly up, and they're going to go down and they're going to convert those factories into green factories.
That would be so great for the world.
Well, I mean, the thing that people are fighting about is that as soon as you follow the energy, and as soon as this starts to happen, the first people that jump on it are going to be the young Republicans. Well, what about our state? Hey, we can do wind and solar. You had how many years to implement this? But I get, because they're poor states, they're going to want to be the first to receive those benefits. So
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering if there's going to be any young Republicans, but anyway, let's not go there.
oh, I think so. I think they're young, smart, savvy.
Yeah.
You know, they want to talk medical marijuana because they know that they can make a lot of money. That's why Colorado did it. Colorado was not a particularly blue state when they did that, but they were able to implement it because they saw it was economically good for Colorado. So
Yeah, and I guess in Oregon, the law went into effect today. I guess all drugs are legal.
really,
Oh, that's where you're at now,
really,
huh?
all
Yeah.
drugs are legal.
Yeah, I heard that today. I think it was on
Oh, heck, what am I drinking water for?
Majority or TYT or something. I heard it today. That something I wanted to tell you is I used to go to Portland at least twice a year because I still have great grandkids, a granddaughter with 5 great grandkids up there. But my daughter lived there. She just moved from Canby, which
Oh,
is about 30 miles from where you're at, and they moved to Florida. Her other daughter had moved to Florida, and she had a baby too. So they retired and moved to Florida.
we are so much better than Florida.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, but the weather's, they both loved hot weather, and her husband loves to scuba dive. So, but anyway, I was going to tell you that I'm really familiar with downtown Oregon and all over, because every time we go there, all she wants to do is go, go, go. So I can picture you right where you're at in the surroundings and stuff. Yeah.
I love where I live. So listen, a lot of people are talking about Britain. We do have a lot of fans from Britain. We tease them, but
I get a lot of comments from
John
people.
Cleese impersonation. You ever see A Fish Called Wanda with John Cleese?
Oh,
So funny.
yeah. Is that the one that had Jamie Lee Curtis in it?
It's all these jokes back and forth between Americans. It's very funny. But anyway, so what do you think about Britain, the Brexit, the economy? I mean, it feels to me like Britain's getting hit hard with so many things all at once.
Well, when they first passed Brexit, I thought, how could anybody be that crazy? But you know what? People should not point fingers. Look what we've done the last 4 years. So anyway, I thought about that so many times. You thought they were crazy there. Look what we're doing. So anyway.
So let's do Brexit. And then also people asked if we would look at quickly at Canada and Israel. So we're going to do Brexit, then we'll do Canada and Israel. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Brexit. Or well, we're looking at Britain, not Brexit. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just been feeling better mentally every day. Just
Yeah,
don't get caught up in it.
yeah, me too. Okay, so let's take a look at how Britain's going to be doing this year.
Okay, one more time.
It's a fun today.
It is. It feels lighter.
Yeah, Lynn and we apologize if we started in a bit of a cranky mood. We are not very good at technology. I'm not mad
It's
at
me.
her, and she's not mad at me. We're mad at Zoom. It's just like we're not technical people, so we were having a little bit of a challenge today. So we apologize if we're feeling a little. We're doing good now.
I can imagine what Marie thinks about that. She was trying to show me how to do StreamYard and
Yeah.
whatever.
Now when people do StreamYard with me, I'm like, just send me a link. It's so it's not. I'm like you. I can't.
Oh, it was real simple. I just couldn't get any sound. I mean, we got going, but anyway, I don't think I could do it on my own right now. I'd have to practice with somebody that was very. And two, I hadn't been up very long when she was trying to do it. And I'm not good. I got to be up a couple hours before my brain clicks in.
Me
I
too.
just,
I gotta have
just not.
coffee. I'm a big coffee person. Okay. Oh,
Well, I'm glad this is in the United States. Shouldn't say that.
oh my God.
No.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't even know where to start. You want to go first?
Yeah, because then you can bring sense into what I'm saying because I'm not sure that I'm making sense half the time. Well, like I said, I was just saying, thank God we're not Britain. This is signifier.
Oh my
Yes.
God, me too, girlfriend.
Did you get the same signifier?
Oh, it's karma card. I'm sorry to interrupt your reading. Please go.
That's all right. Doesn't bother me at all. This Yeah, it won't be very long. They're going to wish they'd stayed in with everybody else. They're going to be thinking, God, why did we think we had to be separated? Why didn't we just stay with the partnerships? And why even after this passed, why did we have to screw around with this all these years and then go through with it? And I don't know why I've got a King of Wands in the foundation. Maybe it's new beginnings, and they think they're going to grow something from it, and I think they're going to actually help themselves in the long run. But I think they know better than this because this is like the people that were trying to push this through in the past were just, trying to get into power, trying to get money, trying to get funds started for themselves. And in the sky, we got the tower. And coming up, we got the Four of Swords, but it's even upside down. So I think they're going to, I hate to say that.
This is horrible.
Yes, that's what I said when I started drawing these. I said I'm glad these aren't the cards I drew for the United States. But then they're still thinking of themselves when they almost ruled the whole world, and they're also, here's Biden again. They actually, before this is over, they're going to be asking the United States for help. Now I don't know if this. I don't have any money cards out here, so I don't know if it's deals or projects or something, but they're going to be trying to work with the United States because we got Biden down here as the environment around this great lady of Britain, the Empress. They're really afraid if they're going to have enough strength to get through this. We got the strength card over here is what's going through their mind. And the outcome, we just got the up in the air. We still got the Two of Pentacles. Even though they've already took this jump, they're still wondering almost how to put it back. Does that sound ridiculous?
Well, I would think of juggler as a bit of a con man. You know,
Yeah.
he's moving the pea around under the walnut shell, and you never really know where it's going. And there's rocky waters in the background. And also, I
Yeah.
think of Dover and Calais. I think of the trade over the channel. I wouldn't want that. That's like somebody is on the take sometimes. You know.
Yeah, well, I felt like that with the this card too, and of course in the devil and the tower and whatever. Yeah, yeah, they're trying to shore it up and tell everybody how strong Britain's going to be after this, but it's not going to be.
I
So that's what I came up with for that one.
Well, it's weird. You meditate on Britain, you meditate on the EU, you take a look at these cards, and I always get the same thing, that this was a pain in the ass to get rid of Britain. It was like the dysfunctional person with a personality disorder who needs all this attention, and that's attention that the EU cannot put towards people who are members of the EU that actually want to be in the EU that desperately need help. And so there's a feeling of resentment. That's my first feeling when I go into this card chart. The karma here is the devil. They found themselves trapped in a situation that they can't get out of. What is interesting here is this travel card. Now, this is a travel card that pulls us west. So when I meditate on this, and one of the things that I've noticed when I meditate on the EU in relationship, and you can see they pulled double aces, the EU. This is the eighth house, who they're in opposition with. They didn't want to be in the EU. So the opposition is the eighth house. The eighth house is double aces. They've got more money and more power. And then there's the West. What's with the West? When you tune in, when you follow the energy, you find yourself in Spain, which is part of the EU, possibly expanding and opening up more EU opportunities to Portugal and other countries that want additional support to solidify. Also, Turkey would like to, Turkey is very interested, to be part of the EU. Now, Russia doesn't want that, right? Russia wants Erdogan to stay with him. He wants that Turkish stream oil train. He wants that trade coming. But what you see when you go into the energy of Brexit is they're headed west. They're headed to Spain, Portugal. They're solid. They've got brand new opportunities. They're putting their money down on new, and they're saving themselves and the poorer countries of the EU that had high mortality rates like Spain, Italy, etc. They're focusing on getting their economy up and running. And it's like, okay, you're gone, great, but the EU is going to survive. The EU is going to survive. We're not going down. And not only are we not going down, but we're going to take all of our babies and we're going to build them up, because to be quite honest with you, Britain, you were kind of dragging us down. That's almost what this feels like. This is Britain. This is the seventh house. Trying to go to smoother waters. Heartbreak is the clarification. What they sit in, what they severed. Right? This is what they marinated in the third house. Look at where they're at, the significator, the first house and the crossing for Britain. Ball of confusion, lunatic, and their crossing was we don't want to be a part of the EU, right? We want to create our own destiny. This was the people that said leave. Unfortunately, here's the consequences. I mean, they really created a mess. But here's the bigger problem when you follow the energy. They destroyed so many of these contracts that they had that now they have to start all over again. It's a mess, and I got the same card you did.
Yeah, and you also got this one, the same one, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really strange because another thing, when I turned this over, the feeling that the card gave me, not the card, is that that they're gonna, I have a feeling that they may try to get back in it at some time, not tomorrow or not next year.
Yeah, it was like
but down the road, they're going to be wanting to get back in there.
Yeah, I got that too. So weird. Huh. That was good. You want to do Canada next?
Sure.
Yeah, let's check out the Canada this year. This is fun today.
It is.
Computer working.
I've thought of you ever since I did my last video, because I did a little cat story at the end, and that was a hit of the video. And I thought about you, and I thought maybe I could tell her to go watch that and just fast forward to the end of it because it was such a cute story. And I always know cat, I've known, I'm allergic to cats, but I've been so many, all my friends have been big
It's
cat
just like
lovers all my
incredible.
life.
I went to a real doctor and I had a real test and I got real medicine and now I don't cough anymore. It's this crazy thing. See, I was hoping I could be diagnosed and treated by my fans, but it wasn't working.
Yeah, it's
Joking,
amazing.
I'm joking. But
I know a pretty, something that works really great on vertigo, and I use it. I've used it so many times in my life when I've had it come on me, and I also know one of the things that brings it on. And I think I'm gonna maybe talk about that on one of my.
viral infect, a virus. You know how you can get a rhinovirus? Rhino is nose,
Yeah,
a virus that just stays up in the nose like a cold. Well, sometimes, because this is the first cranial nerve, the virus can get all the way back. And the eighth cranial nerve is the vestibular cochlear nerve. And the vestibular, the hearing is the cochlear and the vestibular is the balance. And so when that virus latches on to the eighth cranial nerve, you start to get, whoa. And so sometimes a person they'll have a little bit of a runny nose. They won't feel well. And then they'll start to get those weird things. I'm like, okay, that's viral vestibular cochlear. That's a vestibulitis brought on by probably a virus. And I just treat them with electrolytes and antivirals. It can take a couple
yeah,
weeks, depending upon
yeah.
some of those viruses can latch on to the eighth cranial nerve they'll get into this affecting the cerebellum. And I had one patient who was diagnosed with viral vestibulitis, and we did everything. The doctors gave her antivirals, and then we gave her a bunch of naturopathic antivirals. But boy, 6 months she was like that. It was horrible. I don't know what she caught, if it was Epstein-Barr or something, but it was bad.
Well, I figured out what caused mine. I had the type from the crystals moving in the ear.
Yes,
That's the type I get.
crystals.
But
Yeah,
I still get up at when I'm having a bout of it, and I'll get up and I'll have to hold onto the wall to get to the bathroom. You know what I mean? I and be so dizzy. And then if it's been a year and a half, I always think, well, what is it I do for this? So I go in and it's the exercises that you
yeah,
do that literally move those crystals in your ears.
yeah,
And you do them like a five anyway. I don't even have to do them for about a day. 2 days is the most I ever have. They say to do them for I don't know exactly what it is, 3 to 4 days on one way, and if it don't work, do it on the other way.
yeah.
But
We,
it
we
but
we put your head like this, and then this part of the ear, we will tap, or we'll use we can use vibration, and you can also use ultrasound. But electrolytes will help with, if you have more calcium than magnesium, if the ratio is off, stay hydrated and increase your electrolytes can also help.
yeah, I drink electrolytes twice a day. But
Yeah.
do you know another thing that will cause the crystals in the ears to go off balance? And that's if you have that trouble, because this will happen to me periodically. And it's if you use a recliner chair. It's all right to sit in one or lean back for a while, but if you start like watching TV every night or maybe falling asleep in it or something, pretty soon those ear crystals get messed up. I don't know if it's because when you're asleep at an angle, your body thinks you're flat or what, but I noticed if I stay totally away from the recliner, it doesn't. I never get it, but I've never stayed totally. Well, right now I am because I got it sitting under my TV, and the only way I can watch TV from it is the mirror across the room.
Yeah,
So
there's
we're reading.
literally little chunks of calcium that float around and they bind to the receptor sites that are like little hairs inside the ear, causing that ringing. So yeah, you can try and break them up. I think ultrasound would work really well for that.
Okay, so let me. We're doing Canada, right?
Yeah, we're doing Canada for the year, then we'll do
Oh,
Israel, and then we'll close with some ghost stories. If we have time. Yeah,
yeah,
for
that.
50 minutes, so you'll go for another 5-10 minutes.
Hmm.
We have to be, if you want to do Israel too, better like finish this like in 3 minutes so that we
Okay.
don't go for the hour. So we'll do a quick on this. We'll do a quick Israel, and then we'll do a quick stories. I mean, I can.
Okay.
You want me to go
Well,
first? Or do you want to go first?
well, I'll just go first and go real quick. Got the Wheel of Fortune for the signifier, so something's really getting ready to shift there. This is Canada. Uh, it's going to look like something's going some way, then they're going to stop it for a while. I don't know what they're getting ready to work on or what big deal they're fixing to change, but it's something really that would change a lot of some of the direction of what's going on there. Uh, some people are going to be laying awake nights worrying about it. The decision's going to be made. I don't know what this is. It's something big in the government. It's not a good decision because it brings in a lot of chaos. So something's coming up and something that's coming up in their government where they're going to kind of jump the wrong direction. Then they're going to be looking for a partnership. And I just assume it's probably the United States since we're so close. And they're going to, you know, it's they may get it, they may not, but there's going to be some finagling about it to start with, and then they come through. Uh, uh, we got the Empress here, in their hopes and fears. She comes through. Maybe Russia's going to bring some money in there. Who knows? Into Canada, and they might have to tighten their belt a little bit, but they're going to come out of this pretty good. They might have to pull in to shorten their what's going on. So that's what I got real quick. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but
I think it
that's a quick.
does. You know what I get the impression of when I go into this energy and I sit in Justice Trudeau is still the leader, right? He's still the. It feels to me like he doesn't have any power because it's almost like there's too much of a power share. It's almost like three people who have equal power, and I don't have to do what you tell me to do. I don't know I don't know a lot about Canadian politics, but I feel like it's very hard to leave Canada because you can see the base card here is the leader's card, which is what you got.
Yeah.
That's Trudeau. But look at this. Ball of confusion, 7 of cups. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like I'm surrounded with people who are completely nuts. The 7th house, I got that as Trudeau. It's like, what are you saying to me? And I've got all these people arguing with me. I've got people, people in opposition. This could be the Conservatives, the Money Party. And then there's the stubborn, strong female, possibly from the Conservative side. Or you have different parts of Britain. You have, well, in Quebec, we want this. So it's like, well, I don't have to listen to you. There's a lot of this. I can't get everybody on the same page. That's the problem I have with Canada. As Trudeau is like, I got 2 people arguing with me. It's driving me nuts. If I were to say, as an American, not knowing too much about Canadian politics, the biggest frustration for me is no leadership, and the people who are in positions of leadership constantly get stopped because somebody wants to have an argument with them. It's just constant.
That kind of sounds familiar.
I mean, it's just constantly like, what are you, what, now you want what for your group? You want everybody to have a strawberry sundae with chocolate syrup? It's like, what does that have to do with what we're talking about, right? It's this real feeling of frustration and, well, I'm just going to take my toys and go. So I feel like my leadership is not respected. I feel like I constantly have to defend myself. And I think it's really harming whatever's going on in Canada. It almost seems like here we have 2 parties. We have the Conservatives and we have the Liberals. When you go into the energy of Canada, it's not like that. You have the Liberals, you have the Progressives, you have the Conservatives, you have Quebec, and nobody, I don't want to do it. You're not going to make me do it. And that is very, it's very, very hard to be the prime minister in an environment like that. That's how I feel as an it looks like a nightmare. All right, so Israel, we can do Israel.
Yep. I don't know much about Israel. Well, I know a little,
just everybody fighting. Everybody's afraid of everybody. And not good.
Did you say in Israel everybody's afraid of everybody?
Yes, everybody. Well, Israel has nuclear weapons because they're afraid that Iran's going to shoot them. And then they pulled out of Gaza, and then the Iranians sent military aid. So now we've got these, I'm Israeli, they've weapons firing, and then we're firing, and then we're going in, and then Iran is going in with them. It's just, and then Hezbollah, and it's like everybody hates everybody. And then you have Fatah, you have the Fatah side, which was former PLO. It's like, it's the same thing. Everybody having a temper tantrum, but no leadership.
Well, it's kind of better that I don't know nothing about them because
Yeah, because you can read the cards
yeah.
straight. I feel like this is turning into America. Israel's like turning into America. I don't think the Americans have been good for Israel, objectively speaking. It feels to me like Israel used to be a country of kibbutzes. You know, it was Russian immigrants, Eastern European immigrants that had fled that were part of the Bolsheviks revolution, and they were going to build a socialist nation, where a democratic socialist country. Bernie Sanders' family was part of this. You know, they immigrated, they were going to build the New Jerusalem. Everybody, Jewish, everybody was going to build the great new experiment. And then it all fell apart. But what I feel when I go into this energy, what caused it to fall apart was money, greed, American companies, capitalism. Well, you can either be part of the change or not. It's all about the money, capitalism, investments. It's moved away from the ideals of democratic socialism towards a more money. It's more money geared and less spiritual. So there is this feeling like, well, we're going to be rich. We're going to be a rich country. We've got great innovative ideas, and the kibbutzes are dead. So you can either join us or leave. It's really they've really left the original vision of being a secular state that was democratic socialist. Everyone gets fed, one person, one vote. That fell apart. That falls apart, and instead you have just, it looks a lot like capitalism, make money, the coin. Look at these cards.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I think a lot of Israel's problems, socioeconomically, it looks like look at this, it's all money. Money is not helping Israel. Yes, it's helping Israel financially become stable, but it's also making people greedy and moving away from the ideals of, say, 100 years ago, when it was just people in Palestine, Muslims, Jewish, everybody together building kibbutzes so that people could live happy lives. I mean, so the ideal of what it was, you know, the working together, the camaraderie, and what it has become. You know, I'm hoping green capitalism saves them, because you have to cooperate with green capitalism, but that's what it looks like to me. What do you see?
Well, I got the Two of Swords as a signifier. So, you know, just being stubborn and wanting everything their way. And then we got the Queen of Swords over the top, and I don't know if this is a woman or just being powerful for powerful sakes, to show that they're the boss. And then they're moving into something really quickly. We got the Chariot at the base, and we got some kind of plan that has to do with money going on here, that they're what they're moving towards. But whatever this is, whether they plan it or not, it's gonna like roll over a whole new direction, or the end of something, the beginning of something else, because this is in the fifth house. And in the sixth house, we got I didn't think of that as being Russia, but could that be Russia, or could that be getting away from the old ideals, after hearing what you said to start with?
Well, Russia's a very good idea, because we had so many hundreds of thousands of Russians when Russia collapsed, all their scientists moved to the United States and Israel. And so that meant that it became something of a security issue for Russia. They were refuseniks. They were refused visas to leave Russia because of security clearance. They moved to Israel and they started working for Israeli intelligence. And isn't it wonderful? Now you can use your skills to help the Israelis. Well, they helped a few people. So it's possible that some of those people that came in actually still had loyalties to Russia and Putin. And so there's a lot of theories that Netanyahu is compromised, and a lot of people because this right-wing extremist politics, this cray-cray that we're dealing with,
It's all over the world.
yeah, but it's specifically Russian. Because I was living there in the 1980s when Russia collapsed. And I remember all the Russians coming in. The rents went through the roof. All of a sudden, nobody could afford to rent an apartment in Jerusalem. But we got all this crazy like bots coming in the 80s. It was just this right-wing extremist crazy stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, they really think they're on the right path and they're going in the right direction. And there's a lot of work around that. But they are going to start out, like I said, something new's coming up that's going to change them. And I know this sounds crazy, especially for Jerusalem. It's going to end up helping them get along better before it's over.
I agree. No, I know what that's about, and you're right. No, I know it's right. No,
Okay.
I'll tell you, because Bethlehem is part of the state, the Palestinian side, the Palestinian state. And so when I was like in my teens, I said, you know what, we're not going to have a separate country. We're going to have the United States of Israel, Palestine, and we're going to have a constitution, and we're going to bring those states together.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I know that's where we're headed, because now a lot of Palestinians in Bethlehem are saying, okay, let's just do a constitution. You can live here, we can live there. We'll all vote, and we'll have our state separate, as long as they don't violate the Constitution. We're not going to violate anyone's human rights, because we just need jobs, man. And in Bethlehem, they've got all this amazing industry, and they just need people to go in there and help. So the green economy, and by the way, to give a plug, the best olive oil in the world is Palestinian olive oil. Hands down. I've never had that. They cold press it. They add no heat. It's green. The flavor, everything is. So they have so many resources and so much good stuff that they're producing. And I really think that if they can help unite the states, look, we don't have to like each other, but we need to help each other, because it's good. It's ultimately good for everybody, and start getting the economy up and running. I think it would go a long way. And I think that that's what you're seeing, is that, wow, the economy improves and it starts going more green, and it actually is good for the Palestinians. Yes, but they need to be a part of it. It needs to be connected, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be nice if if all those people start getting along, maybe the rest of the world can.
Yeah.
There's hope out there. It's
so
hopeful.
So I thought we would close. I know we've been running really a long time, but can you tell us quickly, you had a funny ghost story, and you didn't you had a ghost experience
all summer. But my first husband was from Wisconsin. My dad was in the produce. He had his own business. But anyway, I met him up there one summer. And so 5 or 6 years later, my husband and my dad let my husband buy into the business. And so anyway, we all went back to meanwhile, my dad had been back to Wisconsin, and my mom every summer for about 2 summers packing lettuce. You know, they didn't pack it, but they had the companies, they dry packed it out of the fields for the farmers. And they stayed in this, Wisconsin's full of old houses. Anyway, they stayed in this 2-story house, and come to find out, it was my husband's great uncle's house at one time. And, it adds to the ghost story. He even had a peg leg. So anyway,
really?
Yeah, because he had been in the war or something. But anyway, and my mom and dad had stayed there a couple of years, and one summer, I think they may have spent 2 summers in that house because it's hard to find places to rent in that little town when you first got there. And for all of a sudden, we didn't have a produce still the next year, but my husband wanted to go back there anyway because his family was there. He said, "We'll go back to Wisconsin and we'll get jobs, or I'll get a job." That wasn't when we both. That was a later year when we both got jobs. So we went back there and we looked all over and we ended up moving into the same house that my mom and dad had moved into. And like I said, I guess they said they had told me some of these stories, but I didn't remember. So anyway, the first night we were, like the second night we were there, my husband went out and got a job out at this resort tending bar. That way he can flirt with all the women all night. Beautiful resort. It's about 200 miles from Chicago. In fact, everybody that hung out at White Lake, that was the name of the resort, came. There was like a bunch of mobsters from Chicago, so it was pretty interesting out there. And I'm in this house, and it's it had the most beautiful wood in it. But anyway, it had a living room, and then a room that had been made into a bedroom right off the door, and then a huge bathroom in the middle off the dining room and the kitchen and the living room, and a kitchen. And then you went up these stairs that was very, very steep, about 12 up, and then you turned in 4 more, and then you were in a little landing. And then if you opened up the door, there was another room, another bedroom. It was actually not finished off as well, but it was another bedroom. And I had 2 young daughters at that time. So we'd been there about 3 days when Kim went right to work. And I'm home at night, and the kids had been in bed for a couple hours, and all of a sudden I keep hearing somebody walking up and down the stairs. So, at that time I had really good hearing, and I went up to check on them a couple of times, and I even moved them all. I thought, well, I even felt kind of spooky, so I moved them out of the other bed, one out of the other bedroom, and put her in bed with her sister, where she was just at the top of the landing, and left the door open, and I could still just hear somebody walking up, and literally, because in those old houses, when the steps are this thick and somebody steps on them. So when my husband came home from work that night, I was sitting there with a shotgun across my lap. And he walked in the door, and he thought I was gonna, he didn't know what was going on because I'm sitting there with this gun. Yeah, he probably had a guilty conscience anyway, truth be known, we were in our 20s. And so anyway, and I told him what was going on, and he says, "Oh, you're crazy." So everybody told me I was crazy. And sometimes you'd be sitting down. There was 2 things that happened all the time in that house. I'd be sitting downstairs, and it sounded like somebody pushing a wooden crate all the way across the floor upstairs, a heavy wooden crate, and it made a lot of noise. And we had 2 friends that had actually lived across the street from us in El Centro, and they went back that year too, and they both got jobs because they had been back with the produce before when we were working back there. And I kept telling them that the place was haunted, and they kept telling me I was crazy. But every time I went to town, I had this big Samsonite Pullman case, that was like 3.5 foot long and this high. It was the biggest one they made, and I had it sitting in front of the cellar door, and it was a half cellar. It had you went down some stairs, but then it was an earth dug, and it wasn't finished off.
That place would scare me. I would get scared just going down there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, every time I would leave, and if I was gone from the house for more than 30 minutes, and it had a key with a skeleton key that locked it, and I would lock it, but I left the skeleton key in it because I was afraid I'd lose it. And that Pullman was sitting in front of it, and I'd get home, and it would be scooted over, and the door would be standing open about that far. And so and I knew nobody was coming in there every time I left, and I kept telling my friend and her husband, our 2 best friends and my husband, and they kept telling me I was crazy and nuts and all this kind of stuff. And then what else was it that always happened? Anyway.
Who do you think it was? Do you think it was your dad?
Yeah, no, I think, no, my dad was back in California.
Not your dad, but whose house was it again? Was it your husband?
It was my cousin, my husband my first husband's great uncle's house.
Right.
But no, come to find out, when I told my mom, she says, I forgot to tell you that. She says, you can't hear him open the kitchen door and come in and walk across the floor, because they had lived there for 2 summers. She said they used to come in and pull the covers off of us. when I finally, on the phone, at that time you didn't, it was $10 for a long distance call. And when I told her, she says, "Oh, I know, are you living there?" And then she explained everything that happened to her and my dad when they lived there. So, so one night, or one morning, it was late in the morning, and my kids had went out and spent. My in-laws had a dairy farm, and the girls had spent the night out there. And my friend Jean came over, and she was probably the closest friend I ever had in my life. And she just came in and laid on the bed beside me because I wasn't up yet. And all of a sudden, another thing you could always hear was the blinds go up and down upstairs. That started happening, and I didn't say anything. I just kept talking. By then, I was used to them. It was like somebody living upstairs. I didn't even pay any attention to it. But then all of a sudden they started that scooting, the big boards across the floor. And Jean sat up in bed and she says, "Boy, those girls are really being noisy tonight, really being noisy this morning. I guess they didn't know you were awake." And I sat up and I looked at her and I said, "Jean, the girls aren't home." And I could see, she was so funny because I could see it was like the blood drained from her face. And she looked at me and she said, "You're kidding me." And I said, "No, I told you this happens all the time." But anyway, I thought that was funny. But then after I left there and got really into metaphysical stuff, I've always felt like there was something in that basement because other people that moved in after us had this problem too, because we knew half the people in town and my mom, in-laws and all this kind of stuff. So that house is still not been torn down. It was remodeled, but they're still having trouble with it. But what I think it was is there was something in that basement that somebody wanted found. So why would they move that big old heavy suitcase and open that door unless they wanted somebody to go down there and look around? And the bravest I ever got was to get almost to where the dirt was. And I was home alone and I just turned around and went back up to it. I never went down all the way.
Well,
and
yeah, those old houses.
Yeah, but anyway, it was kind of anyway. That was that was the summer before I got my first divorce. That was an interesting summer with some other things added. But anyway.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for coming again. Thank you for braving the difficulties of the Zoom. I'm sorry, it's always a drag but it's fun to get started, but it's always a drag figuring out the whole technical.
Yeah, and forgive me for being late because I misunderstood you. I thought we were going to skip this week, so I was busy doing other.
We might have been. I don't know.
Last week you said, "Well, I don't know if we'll do this again or we'll skip a week." So I hadn't heard from you, and I just don't like to push people. I was going to text you and see what was going on, and I thought, no, she hadn't got a hold of me, so don't.
Honestly,
I want to thank you for something.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I picked up over 500 followers since you gave me the opportunity to be on your channel, and I want to really thank you for that because I was trying to get over 5,000, and then I noticed it's really popped up there, and I feel like that's because of you helping me, and I wanted to thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, it's also because of you, because they like the readings. I think we weren't. I think that what happened is that we got so many requests for you to come back this week but yeah, so I'm glad you were able to come back.
Oh, well, I really appreciate it. I want you to know that.
Well, we appreciate you. And if anyone's trying to get in for a reading, they can go to Tarot,
Lynn, Lynn, Tarot Readings @gmail.com. And that's readings with an S. Lynn Tarot Readings @gmail.com.
Right. And then also leave your phone number. She'll call you back and she'll schedule right then and there.
Yeah.
Right. You have to stay while I say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, everyone. Also, if you're trying to get in with me, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you, everyone, for the support. Bye. Bye. Say bye.
Hey, everybody. Namaste.